When A.J. Brown arrived in Philadelphia, he didn't just upgrade the wide receiver room, he transformed the identity of the offense. He gave Jalen Hurts a true alpha target. He changed how defenses aligned. He tilted playoff games. And he helped deliver a championship-caliber window that defined the modern era of the franchise. Now, suddenly, that partnership feels less permanent than it once did. Recent comments from Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman weren't explosive. They weren't confrontational, but they were careful. And in the NFL, careful wording is often louder than bold declarations. When leadership avoids directly committing to a superstar under contract through 2029, speculation grows fast. Around the league, executives and agents notice tone shifts. Media circles back, and before long, the conversation moves from unlikely to possible. That's where things stand. Brown isn't a free agent. In fact, he signed a 3-year extension in 2024 that ties him to Philadelphia long term. On paper, the Eagles hold all the leverage. They don't have to move him. They don't have to explain anything. But when friction enters the equation, whether it's philosophical, financial, or personal, leverage doesn't always equal permanence. If the Eagles quietly explore options, the question becomes simple and ruthless. Who can actually afford him? Because this wouldn't be a discount deal. Brown is still in his prime. He's a physical, vertical, yards-after-catch nightmare who demands safety attention on every snap. Trading for him means surrendering premium draft capital, likely a first-round pick plus additional assets, and absorbing a contract that reflects elite production. That narrows the field quickly, not to contenders alone, but to contenders or rebuilders with both cap flexibility and the willingness to swing big. One obvious name surfaces immediately: the Tennessee Titans. The symmetry would be impossible to ignore. Brown began his career in Tennessee before being traded to Philadelphia in a deal that reshaped two franchises. Now the Titans sit with roughly $100 million in projected cap space, the most in the league, and a glaring need for offensive firepower. Their receiving core lacks a true number one presence. Their offense lacks intimidation. If Tennessee believes second-year quarterback Cam Ward, or whoever ultimately leads their offense, needs a proven playmaker to accelerate development, Brown becomes the fastest way to restore credibility. Financially, it works. Strategically, it works. Emotionally, that's where it gets complicated. Would Brown welcome a return? His initial exit wasn't subtle. It involved contract disputes and philosophical differences. Revisiting that environment would require trust rebuilt on both sides. But from a pure resource standpoint, no team is better positioned to absorb the cost without crippling itself. Then there's the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas sits at the beginning of a rebuild with ambition. If they use the number one overall pick on quarterback Fernando Mendoza, pairing a rookie signal caller with a proven elite receiver could immediately stabilize the offense. The AFC West is brutal. You don't survive it with patience alone. You need star power. Imagine a rookie quarterback walking into the league with Brown as his primary target. That's insulation. That's margin for error. That's a development accelerator. The Raiders also have financial flexibility. The bigger question is philosophical. Are they ready to accelerate the timeline? Trading for Brown would signal urgency. It would signal that Las Vegas isn't content with a slow burn rebuild. It would announce that they intend to compete, or at least to become dangerous, immediately. The third logical contender is the Los Angeles Chargers. This one might make the most football sense. Justin Herbert is already established as a franchise quarterback. What he hasn't consistently had is a physically dominant, reliable number one receiver in his prime. The Chargers have cap space, roughly $80 million projected, and under Jim Harbaugh, they are building a disciplined, balanced roster. Adding Brown would unlock another tier in that offense. Picture Herbert's arm strength paired with Brown's ability to win contested catches downfield and bully defensive backs on intermediate routes. Defensive coordinators would be forced to choose between doubling Brown or respecting the Chargers' emerging ground game. In a division featuring Kansas City, incremental upgrades aren't enough. You need difference makers. Brown is a difference maker. And then there's the wild card, the Buffalo Bills. On paper, Buffalo is the least likely option. Their cap situation is tight. Their draft capital isn't overflowing. Any move would require creative restructures and future sacrifices. But From a pure competitive standpoint, few quarterbacks in the NFL would benefit more from Brown's arrival than Josh Allen. Since the departure of Stephon Diggs, Buffalo's offense has lacked that reliable, physically imposing wideout who can take over high leverage moments. Allen remains elite. But in January, margins are microscopic. A receiver who wins one-on-one battles when defenses load the box can swing playoff games. The Bills would need to engineer the deal carefully. They would need to balance present aggression against future flexibility. But contenders often operate on urgency, not comfort. If Buffalo believes it is one piece away from breaking through, Brown becomes that piece. Still, beyond fit and finances, the deeper question lingers: who is willing to pay the real price? Because the Eagles don't need to move him. That fact cannot be overstated. Philadelphia has leverage. Brown is under contract through 2029. If internal issues can be resolved, the simplest path is reconciliation. Trading a superstar receiver rarely makes a team better in the immediate term, and the Eagles remain in a competitive window with Hurts at quarterback. But NFL front offices are pragmatic. If leadership senses that alignment is fractured beyond repair, whether culturally or financially, they may prefer proactive action over prolonged tension. We've seen it before. Elite players moved not because teams wanted to, but because relationships reached expiration. If that moment comes, the bidding war won't revolve around desire. Every team wants a player like Brown. The bidding war will revolve around sustainability. Which franchise can surrender premium draft picks without mortgaging its depth pipeline? Which team can absorb his contract without jeopardizing extensions for its own core players? Which front office believes its championship window is open right now? Tennessee has the cap space and draft positioning. Las Vegas has timeline flexibility and quarterback uncertainty. Los Angeles has the established quarterback and financial room. Buffalo has urgency but limited structural breathing space. Each scenario carries risk. For the Titans, it's about whether a returning star truly changes the trajectory of a rebuilding offense. For the Raiders, it's about accelerating a rebuild before the foundation is fully set. For the Chargers, it's about balancing a splash move with long-term roster discipline. For the Bills, it's about going all in despite financial constraints. And for the Eagles, it's about timing. Trade him too soon and you weaken a contender. Wait too long and leverage erodes if tensions escalate publicly. At the center of it all is Brown himself, a player whose physical dominance, competitive fire, and production make him one of the most coveted receivers in football. Elite wideouts don't become available often. When they do, markets move quickly. The league is watching, executives are calculating, and somewhere behind closed doors in Philadelphia, decisions are being weighed carefully. Because if the Eagles decide to move on, the question won't be whether teams want A.J. Brown. It will be which franchise is bold enough and financially strong enough to pay the price without sacrificing its future.